The story of Anna Sebastian Periel is now known to the entire country, a young 26-year-old CA who died within 4 months of her joining a job in Ernst & Young. Now, whether these two things are connected or not, opinion is clearly divided, with the parents now coming out and saying that she was under tremendous work pressure. Her sleep cycle was severely disturbed. She had no pattern to her life, like there was no schedule of eating or sleeping, owing to which she developed tremendous anxiety. And in fact, the mother, in her letter to the chairman of Ernst & Young, cites the fact that the doctors reported saying her ECG was normal, but her disturbed sleep pattern has aggravated things and adding to her emotional, physical, and mental distress. The parents believe that it was because of the kind of pressures she was facing at work that her heart condition deteriorated and came to a point that her life could not be saved. The statement from the chairman of Ernst & Young, of course, indicate that there are 100,000 employees and others work those hours, so this is an isolated case and it should not be connected to work pressure. This entire issue has now sparked off a debate. How much is too much? Should there be more support for young, aspiring talent who joins these top companies? Ernst & Young, after all, is one of those aspirational companies where young people want to work. In fact, as somebody who has led teams in a newsroom, I can tell you that young people come under tremendous pressure when they have to deliver. And the companies, the organizations have zero empathy for the fact that everyone may not be the same. There are some who are more vulnerable than the others. Is there any support system that accommodates the various different sorts of mental, physical attributes that people have? The answer is no. And when it comes to a young person who is suddenly thrown into the workspace and has to deal with all these pressures, if you are not from that strong mental fortitude, if you don't have that, you are in for trouble. And I have in fact sat down so many of my young colleagues and spoken to them when they come to me saying that they are going through anxiety. Are there enough of mentors in workplaces? All of those questions remain. But today I'm going to talk about the point about working hours specifically. Which are the 10 most dubious countries for long working hours? And the report is now out, which I'm going to reveal in this video, and also talk about where does India stand. So the 10 countries with the longest working hours. Let's get started. Which is the country in the number one position? Believe it or not, this is a country that prides itself for a great happiness quotient, but Bhutan happens to be the country with the longest working hours. Despite having a population of only 7 lakhs, people in Bhutan top the chart with the most amount of working hours in the world. Employees in Bhutan work, hold your breath, roughly 54.4 hours per week. At number 2 is UAE. Yes, United Arab Emirates, where employees work for 50.9 hours per week to drive their economy. At number 3 is Lesotho. Now, this is the first time I came across this name. Lesotho is an African country, and there people work for 50.4 hours every week, which makes it the third country with the highest working hours per week in the entire world. At number 4 is Congo, where employees work 48.6 hours per week. At number 5, Qatar. Qatar people work on an average 48 hours per week. At number 6 is Liberia. At number 6 is this country where people work for 47.7 hours, very close to Qatar. Number 7, Mauritania. People in this country work for 47.6 hours per week. At number 8, country which is anyway in the news a lot these days, Lebanon. People work for 47.6 hours per week on an average. At 9th place is Mongolia. Employees work for 47.3 hours per week. At number 10 is Jordan. We have people working for 47 hours per week in Jordan as well. But where does India stand? It has just about managed not to be in that list of the dubious 10 countries with the highest number of work hours per week. India's work hours per week is 46.7. That's the average as per the ILO report. People in India work for 46.7 hours per week. Now, that is the figure which has been disclosed by ILO, International Labour Organization. The data also revealed that 51% of India's employees work 49 hours or more per week. So, this is an average figure, but if we look at a little bit of a breakdown, we find that the number is higher for 51% of employees in India. So this makes India the second country in the world to have extended working hours after Bhutan, where 61% of the people work for over 49 hours per week. So the devil is clearly in the details. It may not be in the top 10 countries in terms of average, but when you take a closer look at the figures, it is not as if India is way behind. Now, in contrast, some of the leading economies in the world have a much lower work week for their employees. For instance, in US, people work for 38 hours per week on an average. China has a work week of 46.1 hours. Japan's average work week is 36.6 hours. And UK's average work week is 35.9. So this is how it looks in terms of average work week. But overall, the question remains is about workplace culture. What drains you is not so much the long and excruciating hours, but also if the workplace culture is such that it takes a toll on your mental health as well. And that is what the parents of Anna Sebastian seems to be suggesting, that she was under tremendous mental pressure. And I used this quote in an earlier video, and I'm going to use it again, that says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. This is a famous line by a management consultant called Peter Tucker, and he means that if you emphasize on strategy only to the exclusion of building a healthy work culture, you're going nowhere. If Ernst & Young and organizations like them followed this, today Anna Sebastian would have been alive.